Hello everybody, and welcome back. A few years ago, I made a video covering what is debatably the first creepypasta ever written, that being Ted the Caver. And on that video, I received several comments suggesting that I check out a story that I'd never heard of before, that being the Dionaea house. This is another early example of creepypastas and internet horror stories as a whole. And though it came out a few years after Ted the Caver did, it still stands as one of the fundamental pillars of helping create the internet horror community. And after sitting on it for a few years, I finally decided to check it out, and I can see why it's held in such high regard. However, there is one small problem with the story, and that's that it was left unfinished. However, I feel even with its unfinished nature, that the story is not only good, but that there is enough information for us to determine what happened to the characters, as well as paint a broad picture of the lore of the world of Dionaea House. So, though it is not complete, I still think there's enough pieces of the puzzle to put it together. Now, one last thing before we get into it. Returning viewers of this channel will know that typically when telling these stories, I usually sort of summarize them. And while as this is the way I prefer doing things on this channel, I wanted to change it up a little bit for this video, more for convenience for everyone, as this story is told through several different points of views, and though that isn't confusing when actually reading it, I don't trust myself not to mess it up in retelling and having to stop every few minutes and be like, okay, now this is from this person's point of view, this is from this person's point of view. And I also wanted to narrate this story because of the way it's done. This story is primarily told through email exchanges, online journals, chat logs, and because of its, at least compared to today's stories, relatively unique presentation, I wanted to just cover it as is. This video was a lot of fun to make. I got to practice some legitimate narrating, which I should probably never do again, but it was a fun little exercise. And I got to feel like an internet detective going through and using the Wayback Machine and whatnot to find a lot of this stuff, which turned into a slightly bigger rabbit hole than I was expecting, but I wouldn't necessarily say a challenge. So with that being said, I'm going to read the Dionaea house in its entirety, all parts, all points of views, and then at the end we'll talk about why the story wasn't finished, and theorize what happened, creating a timeline of the story, and attempting to put all the puzzle pieces that we have together. So without further ado, here's the Dionaea house. October 7th, 2004. Jennifer, friends and family of Mark. As promised, here are copies of the correspondence I received from Mark over the course of the last month. For the most part, I have merely copy and pasted them from my email application. As you'll read, he requested this, in hopes that you'll better understand why he did what he did. I made this page because it's the most efficient way to share Mark's emails with all of you. I'm not advertising this to anyone, but I do think it would be wise to pass this URL along to anyone who may help with the investigation. As I collect more information from various sources, I'll update this page to keep an accurate record. I'll have that link at the end of the series as well. If you need to speak with me, Jen has my number. Thank you for your patience, and again, I am profoundly sorry. Eric. September 6th, 2004. 8:17 a.m. From Condry, Mark. Subject, an old friend. Eric. Hey man, it's Mark from Houston. The Saturday Night Gang. Feels like a long time ago, doesn't it? I found your email from your website. Looks like you're out in LA now? Cool. I remember telling you should be out there doing the California thing. You still with Connie? I'm in Dallas now. I met someone who works in my building, and we've been seeing each other for 2 years now. Listen, the reason I'm writing to you out of the blue is because I got this newspaper article in the mail. Maybe you got one too? It's about Andrew. You remember Drew. Travis would pick him up most of the time. Messy hair, sort of the fanboy type. I didn't remember his last name until I got this thing, and now it's really disturbing me. Do you know what happened? Did you hear about it already? Let me know if you have some time to talk. I can call you or you can call me if that works better. I'm going to see if I can track down Travis and Dave. A quick search didn't seem to turn up any leads, but maybe they just don't have websites. If you still talk to either of them, let me know. Thanks. Mark. September 8th, 2004. 7:44 a.m. From Condry Mark. Subject, reply, an old friend. Eric. Thanks for a quick reply. I didn't mean to sound cryptic in my first email, I'm just reluctant, I guess. I hadn't seen or thought about Andrew since he stopped showing up for game night, and that was 5 years ago. That was about the time we all went our own ways, back in 1999. You moved out west, I moved up to Dallas, etc. So when I got this article in my mailbox, it caught me by surprise. And yeah, I'll transcribe the thing for you. I wasn't sure if maybe you were the one who sent it to me. I remember him. He was never the kid with the idea. He was the kid who agreed with yours. Slowest to get the joke, usually laughed the longest. Yeah, that's Andrew in a nutshell. At least that's how I remember him. He got on my nerves sometimes, but damn if he didn't love being a part of the gang. He'd ask me for some poker chips on card night or borrow my dice from the bag, that sort of thing. Whenever we played Tecmo Bowl on your Nintendo, he always wanted to be on my team, which would have been fine if he was any good. I haven't heard from Travis or Dave in years. They fell off the radar about the same time you did. None of us made much attempt to stay in touch. It was just one of those things. That's okay, I wasn't trying to point fingers. It happens. But I was hoping you had already heard about Andrew. Like you'd gotten a copy of the article. I still haven't been able to get a number or email for Travis or Dave. Maybe they know more about this than we do. Andrew usually hitched a ride with Travis most of the time. It was on the way home for Travis. Didn't Andrew live with his mom? Like in an apartment? And his stepdad was a real estate broker. Had that one house way out past Highway 6. You remember that? Andrew was scared to death of that house. Here's the article. There's a photo of Andrew with it. Looks like maybe his driver's license photo. Still had messy hair. Gunman shoots 2. Kills self in Boise restaurant. Diners at the roadside breakfast cafe on Interstate 84 fled to the parking lot in a panic yesterday afternoon when a man entered and began shooting patrons inside, killing 2. The couple, John and Lucy Madson, were having lunch when 26-year-old Andrew Hughes entered, wielding a Smith & Wesson .59 pistol, according to police. Witnesses claim the perpetrator was muttering to himself as he approached the smoking section and opened fire into the first occupied booth, fatally wounding the Madsons. Soon after, he turned the weapon on himself. All 3 were taken by paramedics to St. Alphonsus Regional Medical Center, where John Madson and the shooter were pronounced dead. Lucy Madson, 37, remained in critical condition for several hours, but did not survive the night. Police are investigating Hughes' work and personal background, but as of this morning, a motive for the attack is unknown. If there's more to the article, I didn't get it. That's where it was torn off. The other side is part of a Dillard's ad. This is really bothering me, Eric. What the hell was Drew doing in Boise? With a gun? He hung out with us for almost 2 years. I just don't get it. And something else is eating at me. I can't figure it out yet. Mark. September 9th, 2004. 2 p.m. From Condry Mark. Subject, Andrew. Hey, I know how you feel. It's hard not to think of the times he sat next to us at the table, smiling like a fool, rolling dice and moving his pieces around the board. He loved Monopoly night, always wagged his tongue when he counted money. I don't think he realized he did that. It's impossible to think of him shooting up a diner. There's no return address on the envelope? No, but the postmark is Idaho, not California or Texas. Not sure if you already considered this, but it's possible the whole thing is a fake. Some sick practical joke made to mess with your head. Yeah, I've considered it. I didn't tell you this earlier, but I called up St. Alphonsus and asked if they had a patient named Andrew Hughes admitted in the last month. They had no record of him. I asked if it would show if he'd been pronounced DOA, and I got transferred to ER, where they keep paramedic records and info on all DOAs. They have him listed. He showed up on August 28th, died of a gunshot wound to the head, pronounced dead by ER resident at 3:14 p.m. I asked for some contact info, like a phone or address where he might have been living. I got brushed off, told to call the police for that stuff. The hospital wouldn't give out any personal info, at least not without some signatures. I haven't called the police yet. That's probably the next step. Glad to hear that you and Kanye are going strong. Sorry to dump all of this on you, I just don't know who else would care to listen. I'll write if anything else comes of this. At this point, I'm thinking maybe Drew's mom sent it to me. Maybe Drew kept track of me when I moved to Dallas and had my address. I'm listed in the book. That would explain the logistics part. I'm overthinking things. Take care, Mark. September 10th, 2004, 3:11 a.m. From Condry, Mark. Subject, thoughts and concerns. Hey again, I know it's late or early depending on how you look at it, but this Andrew thing won't go away. I finally realized what's eating at me and I need to spit it out. Do you remember what went on just before Andrew stopped showing up for game nights at your place? I do. He was gone for 2 weeks because he had to house sit for his stepfather. Mom and stepdad went on a big vacation every summer for like 10 days, and Andrew was just expected to stay behind. He usually just stayed at his mom's apartment, but that year he was asked to mind that house his stepdad owned. The one out in that old rich subdivision west of Houston. Maybe the guy had a bunch of houses. He was big on real estate, wasn't he? The guy had inherited this dog from one of his clients, somebody who moved out and didn't want to take the dog with them. I want to say it was an Australian Shepherd. Do you remember any of this? Andrew talked about it the weekend before. The dog had behavioral problems. It whined, barked, scratched at the door, pissed on the carpet. Didn't want to be inside, always wanted to be outside. Dad kept it in a kennel when it rained. Andrew was supposed to take care of the dog, plus a few other things like mow the lawn, that sort of crap. But Andrew didn't want to go. Dave got into that argument with him about how it was the perfect setup for a young bachelor. House all to yourself, party time, risky business, and Andrew kept saying it was too cold there for a party. Too cold. I distinctly remember that, and how he kept asking us to drive out and stay with him while he was house sitting. I don't think anyone went out there, did they? I never did. We didn't see him for 2 Saturdays in a row. Then Travis picked him up like usual since he was back at his mom's place. That's the one night with Andrew I remember the most. I bet it's the same with you. It was the most bizarre, frustrating night I had with the group. Andrew walked in, quoting some commercial verbatim. I want to say it was a Tide ad. Travis told us he was like that in the car all the way over. Commercials, shows, movies, radio songs. The first couple of hours gaming was like being in a room with the TV on. Then he started parroting us. He'd just copy something we said, you remember? Tell me you remember this. I can see it in my head so clearly. Oh, and his response to anyone's complaints? Okay. Drew, stop quoting Law & Order episodes. Please give the Pontiac commercial a rest. Dude, shut up and roll your dice. Okay. And then he'd launch into something else a few minutes later. It wasn't just that he would regurgitate that crap. It was that he could take it so far. Whole realms of dialogue that he'd somehow memorized from one throwaway TV episode. Lyrics to entire songs. It went from odd to funny to disturbing in the first hour. Look, I'll come out and say it. Whatever happened in those 10 days, it changed him. He wasn't the same person after that. We all know this. We never talked about it, at least not with me around, but if we didn't know instantly that the person who came back from that house was not Andrew. I wrote before that I hadn't thought about Andrew since '99. That was a lie. You know the way your brain sometimes reminds you of things you hate to dig up? The ones that sour your stomach? I've thought about him a few times. About that night. Was that the start of his madness, or whatever it was that drove him to shoot up a diner? Were we there to see him first lose his grip? Jesus, Eric, why the hell didn't we say anything? September 10th, 2004, 11:38 a.m. From Condry Mark. Subject, the door is open. Eric. I woke up to the phone ringing this morning. Turned out to be the reporter from the Idaho Statesman. She'd finally called me back. Did I tell you I called to track down the source for the article? She didn't have any new developments on the story, but will continue to follow up with the police. I asked if she had any other details about the crime, stuff that didn't find its way into the article, and we sort of went over her notes. Most of it I already knew, but there was one piece of info that caught my attention. She wrote in the article that Andrew was mumbling or muttering to himself when he entered the restaurant. But she didn't put in what he was saying. According to witnesses, he kept repeating, "The door is open." Does that make any sense to you? The door is open? Write me back. Mark. September 12th, 2004, 5:10 p.m. From Condry, Mark. Subject, a plan. Eric, haven't heard from you. Just writing to let you know I've had a day to put some distance from the whole thing, and I've made a decision. I'm going to drive down to Houston and see if I can find someone in Andrew's family. I once rode with Travis to pick Drew up. I think I know where his mom used to live. From there, maybe I can find stepdad in the house. I've tried the Boise lead already. I called the cops and got more questions than answers, and some Lieutenant Perez plans to call me back in case he needs more testimony from me. Like I know anything. Apparently Andrew was living alone in a rental up there, working at a Blockbuster Video. That's about all I got from the cops and Idaho, so I'm aiming for Houston. Even driving my own car and a cheapo motel, it's still going to cost me about $200 for the trip. Jenny is worried about me. She'd rather I stay and pretend the police will figure this out on their own. But I have to go down there, Eric. Here's why. I think Andrew was afraid of that house for a reason. Whatever that reason was during those 10 nights, something emptied him, gutted Andrew like a fish. It yanked out whatever he was inside or shocked him into forgetting it all away. He was hollowed out. To fill the void, he absorbed any input he could find. Television, radio, conversation, soaked it all up and presented it as Andrew. He could walk and talk, and he wasn't injured. Not physically. But he wasn't the same either. There's a gap I need to fill in my head, like the time in that house. I have these pieces of Andrew that don't match. I need something to match. Hell, I'll feel better if something will just make sense. I won't ask you to fly down and join me, but I could use your help all the same. I have some questions you might be able to answer. Please call me or send me a note if you know any of these. My phone is removed. Eric. What was the stepfather's name? First or last? What was his mom's name? Was her last name also Hughes? What was the name of the subdivision where stepdad's house was? I think Andrew mentioned it. I hope I haven't freaked you out too much with my crazy talk. I know it probably comes off as sounding absurd, some of it. Or maybe not. You were there for some of this. If you really think I'm off my noggin, tell me. By all means, tell me. Hope to hear from you soon. Mark. September 13th, 2004, 8:22 a.m. From Condry, Mark. Subject, reply, a plan. Eric, thanks again for calling. I got your email as well, and it mentions a few things we didn't discuss over the phone, so I wanted to add a comment or two. What I remember was what Travis told us, the time he went to pick up Drew and had to go up to his room to get him. This was the last time Drew gamed with us. Travis went upstairs to his room, and the kid was pacing back and forth by his bed. Everything was all neat and tucked in, but the carpet was worn in a line where Drew was pacing. Like it's all he did. Yes, I remember this too. And the way Travis told the story, like he wanted it to sound funny, but he didn't believe it was. And Dave laughed. He said, "Man, that dude's a broken record." And we all agreed, nodding and chuckling. We all just let it go at that. Like it was easier to write him off. But Travis was the last one to laugh. He'd seen the room with his own eyes. I want to go. I really would go. But Connie got sick last night, and she's still throwing up this morning, and I don't feel right leaving town with her like this. Understandable. You stay there. I'll continue to email you on this thing. I can't really talk about Drew with Jenny. She never knew him. She doesn't get why this is so disturbing outside of the horror that took place in Boise. That's why I keep writing you. Nobody else gets it. Hey, maybe I'll find Travis or Dave while I'm in town. Mark. September 14th, 2004, 6:51 p.m. From Condry, Mark. Subject, I made it. Eric. Made it to Houston. The drive was hell. Traffic and a persistent rattle in the trunk wore me down. The AC unit in my motel sounds like a submerged Cessna engine. It'll be hard for me to sleep with it on and impossible with it off. Well, at least the whole internet access bit works. And I'm off to check my email. Tomorrow's a long day. I'll be prowling Praisewood and your old neighborhood to zero in on an apartment complex I went to once. Joy. Wish me good luck. Mark. September 15th, 2004. 9:06 p.m. From Condry Mark. Subject, lots of stuff. Eric. Great news. I have a solid lead. The whole day felt like I was pulling a string from the sand, but it's pointed me in the right direction. These emails are becoming more of a journal for me to help me log my progress. I hope you don't mind. It took me about an hour of driving back and forth around the Gessner and Praisewood area before I zeroed in on the right side street. The landmarks had changed. I was 90% sure I'd found the right apartment complex, but I was still grasping air. With no name for Drew's mom and no guarantee her last was Hughes, I went to the manager's office, and I just got lucky. Her name is Nancy Hughes, and she stopped paying the rent in September of 1999. Drew paid it for the rest of the lease term, which ended the following February. According to the note in the resident file, he paid in cash. Seems mom moved out, or just up and left one day. Poof. Andrew was living alone in the apartment then? How is he paying for rent with just a minimum wage job? I showed the manager the article about Andrew, and then I lied. I said I was a private investigator. I don't know why. Maybe to justify why I was having her dig up rental information from 5 years ago. Anyway, she got off on it and kept rooting around in the Hughes file for me, like a movie sidekick. She found something. A third-party check covered rent for December of 98. Kurt Malone. I'm thinking this is stepdad. The manager photocopied the check for me, and 10 minutes later I was calling the phone number printed with Kurt's address in the upper left-hand corner. No luck there. Disconnected. So I took another approach and called 411 for a local realtor service. You can do a search for contact information for a specific realtor. I remember hearing about this from a coworker who'd sold his place in Greatwood. Malone was listed under a little Remax affiliate office in Katy. I got that number and called there, left a message. Evelyn, the owner, called me back and said Malone hadn't worked there in forever. He up and vanished, left her with all kinds of issues. She thinks he had financial problems and bailed for Mexico. I find it hard to swallow a theory told to me in stage whisper, but maybe that's just her personality. Still, that's 2 people gone. Before I thought maybe mom just moved in with stepdad. Now I don't know what the hell to think. The call went on for half an hour as I got to hear the HR nightmare Evelyn went through thanks to Kurt's disappearance. Halting his benefits, freezing the 401k plan, surrendering documents to the police, etc. I finally broke in and asked about the house, the one out in Westfield, Houston he owned. She got very quiet after that. It took me another 10 minutes to answer her questions about who I was. This time I was honest and upfront with her. I guess it paid off because she believed me, or at least believed in my intentions. And she checked her records. I have an address, Eric. Kurt had his own home in Sugarland, but get this, he was renting a house from a client, way out west, near Pecan Grove Plantation. The paperwork was curious, since he was supposed to be selling this place, but the previous owners had signed off on it in multiple places, like it was no real conflict of interest. She didn't know what happened to the house after it was seized by the bank, but I guess I'll find out tomorrow when I drive out there. I'm close, man. I'm really close. Note, Mark was able to send text messages from his phone, but I frequently received them late, sometimes hours after he sent them, as is the case with the September 21st message. September 16th, 2004, 3:33 p.m. Where are you? Call me. From Condry Mark, 8:25 p.m. Subject, the house. I tried calling you 5 times today, but I got your machine. I really need to talk.
Call me as soon as you can. Where do I start? The house is still there. It's this generic one-story thing, bricks and siding. It must have been built at the same time as the other homes in the neighborhood, but it just looks older. The roof is scarred in places. The driveway hasn't held up like the others have. Cracks in the pavement, a plank missing from the side gate. I rang the doorbell and figured I'd just talk to the new owners, but no one answered. I couldn't really hear if it worked or not. Blinds and curtains in the windows kept me from peering inside. There was a dusty pickup truck with a warped front fender parked in the driveway. A neighbor across the street saw me checking it out. He talked to me for a while as he watered his shrubs. He hasn't met the person who lives in the house now, or if anyone is living there really. He remembered Kurt, but not by name, just as the guy who stayed there for a few months. The previous owners, Kurt's clients, didn't live there that much longer. They had all sorts of problems with the house. Electrical, heating, that sort of thing. They moved out, left most of their furniture behind, he said. Packed into a big RV one day and just drove off. He still remembered their names. John and Lucy Madson. September 18th, 2004. 7:59 a.m. From Condry, Mark. Subject, reply update. Hey Eric, we're playing phone tag. When you called, I was already on the plane, and when I called back, I guess you were at the hospital again. Really sorry to hear about Connie. Any idea what it is yet? Food poisoning? Something else? What are the doctors saying? Anyway, I'm in Boise now. Yeah, I nabbed a ticket on short notice, got on standby. I left my car at the George Bush Airport in Houston. Jen freaked out when I told her. Then she got very terse. Said I should do what will make me happy and hung up. What will make me happy? Christ, I don't know a soul in Idaho. Haven't slept in 2 days, I'm charging everything to my visa, and I have no idea how I'm going to pay it off. My watch stopped working yesterday. I've got this weird ringing in my right ear. It comes and goes. Annoying as hell. I'll tell you what will make me happy. Closing my eyes and not seeing Andrew staring back at me. What are you going to do when you get there? Do you plan on telling the police the Madson connection? Do you think the Madson left something in that house that drove Drew nuts, and he killed them for it years later? Seriously, this is messed up. Yeah, I don't know what to think. Right now, it's just a connection. They lived in the same house. The Madsons were there for 4.5 months, and Drew was there for 10 days. I have no idea what it means. I'll email you when I figure something out. Feel like I should pass this along to some people. Like to get you some help out there. Or bring in the feds or something. I don't know if anyone else has managed to make the connection you did. And it's an important one to the case. Can I forward your emails and contact info to someone? I've been thinking about that, because I was going to ask you to do that for me at first. But now I don't think I'll get the kind of help I need. Let's face it. There are enough unexplainable pieces to this thing. I'm going to get two kinds of interest. Nuts and skeptics. I wouldn't mind so much the skeptic, except I get this vision in my head of some guy calling Jenny, calling my parents, calling my boss at work, looking to paint the picture of a guy who's lost his mind after hearing that his dead friend went nuts. I really haven't been totally honest with Jenny or my supervisor at the office, because this is not something you can easily explain. I've been calling in sick to work. I told Jen I had to go to Boise to attend a pseudo wake. I don't want that to bite me in the ass while I'm looking into Andrew's past. Here's what you can do for me, though. You can hold on to this stuff as evidence or whatever. If something crazy happens and I'm in trouble, use this to explain the situation for me. Forward emails to my friends or family. Maybe if they read them, they'll understand what I'm going through. I know you didn't mean to inherit this job. I'm sorry to make you do it. But I really appreciate the help. Mark in Potato Land. September 20th, 2004. 10:13 a.m. From Condry, Mark. Subject, new lead. Update. I called the hospital, the one where Andrew was taken back in August, and asked some pointed questions about where Andrew's body went. Who picked it up? Did a relative or a friend show up? The answer was no. But he was tagged with John and Lucy, and I kept demanding some sort of lead, so the intern gave me the names of the relatives who were called in to confirm the IDs of the Madsons, and to arrange for funeral home delivery. John's cousins live out here. I'm about to head out and meet Greg Archer, the cousin, and his wife. I'll write again from the hotel. Mark. 10:40 p.m. From Condry, Mark. Subject, the Archers. Back. That was strange. I met the Archers. I know what you said last time I called, how I need to stop lying because it'll make it harder on me later, but I wasn't about to tell them I'm a good friend of a guy who killed Greg's cousin. I said I knew the Madsons when they were in Houston. I had some burning questions about what happened to them, as I claimed, they practically dropped off the map when they left town. I haven't heard from them since. Greg did most of the talking. His wife Helen was pleasant in that stiff smile way, but she found ways to interrupt my chat with Greg and reminded him of other things he needed to get done. The more she did it, the more I encouraged Greg to keep chatting. The Madsons, as he tells it, had a long future planned in Houston. John got a transfer to Schlumberger Oil and looked forward to settling down. Then things started to go wrong after they moved in. Just little things that piled up. Their car kept getting flats. Lucy broke her ring finger while futzing with the dishwasher. Trouble getting mail. Their phone got disconnected when they didn't pay the bill for 2 months, a bill they never got. That sort of thing. Finally, something happened. Greg doesn't know what. It was enough to get them to put the house on the market. That same week, John sold all his company stock, gutted his 401k, quit his job, and put everything into a big RV. He and Lucy drove off in their new motorhome and never looked back. They'd been driving around the country the last 5 years, nomadic. Lucy got pregnant in 2002 but miscarried. They still kept on the road. Greg thinks they would have just kept driving through Idaho if the RV hadn't broken down with an AC problem. Greg says John called him out of the blue and asked if he and Lucy could stay over. Greg made the guest room upstairs, and he and Helen welcomed them in the house for a week. This was right before the shooting. Here's where it gets stranger. Greg took me up to the guest room and pointed to some spots on the carpet, right in front of the closet door. Furniture footprints. Like something had stood there. Greg says it was the dresser, the one against the opposite wall. They had barricaded the closet door for the duration of their stay. It was the strangest thing. He also noticed they kept the bedroom light on around the clock, and bundled up with the spare set of woolen blankets for the bed. Greg never found the right way to ask a number of questions. I think he felt a little better talking to me about it. I'm not his cousin, but I'm someone who listened to him, and agreed it was bizarre. I left Greg and Helen's not feeling any better. I feel worse now. I ache in the way you're sore right before you get really sick. I'm trying to put things together. I really am. I have to go to the police now, don't I? I'll go first thing in the morning. I promise, Eric. September 21st, 2004. 2:21 a.m. From Condry, Mark. Subject? No subject. Hey. I just saw this thing on Discovery Channel, probably a rerun, I bet you can catch it sometime. All about natural predators and stuff, wild things. Yeah, I'm up watching TV since I can't sleep. Anyway, they had this thing on the Venus flytrap, talking about how it lures the curious insects into its lip. And then, these invisible hairs or something sense when one of the suckers lands on it, and wham! It swallows the bug, just like that. Later on, it spits out the skeleton of the fly and waits for the next victim. Some types of flytrap plants emit this odor to entice more food, says the voice on the TV. The fancy name for them is Dionaea miscipula. So I wonder if that's all this is. This whole thing with the shooting and the anonymous article and Houston and the footprints on the carpet. It's all to get me into the Venus flytrap. Only the scent isn't sweet sap, it's guilt. Guilt over all those times I was around Drew and didn't do anything. You know what I mean? And I'm flying all over the country, and my head is buzzing, and I think I'm getting close to the truth, but really, I'm tickling some invisible hair, and the ground is about to fold up on me and swallow me down into that place where Nancy Hughes and Ken Malone went. I'm going to take some sleeping pills. I hope Kanya's doing better, man. I miss Jen. She has a way of making me feel like I'm home just by being around her. I'm tired of motels. I'm sorry, Eric. I'm so sorry. Mark. 12:15 p.m. From Condry Mark. Subject: where Andrew stayed. Eric. Bingo. I went to the police and asked to talk to Lieutenant Perez. Instead, I got Detective Sokoloff. He said he was working the Hughes case now. I'm more inclined to think he was just running interference for Perez in case I was a wacko. Anyway, I told him about the Madson connection with Andrew to see if that would help. He said they'd look into it. Then he started with the questions about me, and I looked for a way to cut the chat short. Police stations make me uncomfortable. The rest of the talk was rather banal. But at the end of it, almost offhandedly, he asked if I wanted to sign for Andrew's personal effects, since they had copies of all the important stuff. I said sure, even though it made me feel like they've already written off this case. Drew's been busy for the last 4 years. He has driver's licenses for Kansas, Colorado, Arizona, California, and Idaho. Looks like he's stayed at friends' homes because none of the addresses printed on the license have apartment numbers. His Idaho license is just 2 months old, and it has the address of the rental home where he stayed. I'm going to drop by this afternoon and see what happened to his things there. Maybe there's a clue to how he knew where to find the Madsons, or why he shot them. Perez or somebody has done this already, I'm certain, but I'm not sure they looked very far. Wish me luck, Mark. 4:14 p.m. From removed. Subject? No subject. Standing in front of the house now. It's the same one. The Houston house. Same marks on roof. Same fence damage. 4:22 p.m. Just talked to the old man across the street. He says house has been here for years. Rented out as far back as he can remember. 4:25 p.m. I rang the doorbell. No answer. It's exactly the same, Eric. I don't understand. 4:29 p.m. Ears ringing again. I don't know what to do. How is it the same? 4:33 p.m. There's no way into the house here. 4:33 p.m. Where are you? Pick up the phone. 4:38 p.m. I'm going inside. 4:41 p.m. Inside the house. Nobody is here. Air is cold. Metal smell. 4:41 p.m. I found stairs. Going up. Didn't see second story from street. 4:47 p.m. Did you call? Signal cuts off, but 3 bars, then no bars. I'm looking for more of Drew's stuff here. Layout is really bizarre. Lots of rooms. 4:47 p.m. Door at the end of the hall. Made of metal. Checking other rooms instead. 5:05 p.m. Call. 5:09 p.m. Found something. Drew's backpack. Getting out of here now. 5:11 p.m. I think someone's here. I just heard something. 5:77 p.m. The door is open. September 27th, 2004. 1:18 p.m. From Condry Mark. Subject for Thursday. Hello, Eric. This is Jennifer. I'm on Mark's PC now. I did like you suggested, and I've been looking through his outbox, and I don't see any emails about this to anyone else. There aren't that many, really. He didn't tell me a lot of this stuff, Eric. Like, now I'm reading the last one he sent you back on the 13th. I didn't know he was so emotional. Why didn't he tell me about this? But anyway, like you said, he wrote to you from his laptop when he was in Houston and Boise. And the police up there said they found that in his hotel room. And they're taking their own sweet time checking it out for clues. So yeah, I will keep asking for that to be sent down. Where else should I look? I don't know what else to do except wait until you come down and look at it. He does have AIM, but I can't tell where the chat logs would be saved or anything if he's done that. Please tell me what else I can do. You know more about what he was up to than anyone else. Because of this old friend you two had who went crazy, and now Mark is missing for almost a week. Please send me the other emails he sent you. Please, I want to know now. Jen. October 1st, 2004, 1:30 p.m. From Postmaster. Subject, undeliverable mail. Unknown user, X. RCPT to generated the following response. 550, unknown user. Original message follows. 12:47 p.m. Subject, no subject. Human arm and leg bones found on street. Scottsdale residents got a shock at the start of their morning commute when they found what seems to be human bones lying in the road on Sage Drive. Crime scene technicians arrived within half an hour and began to sweep the scene for more evidence that might help identify this human victim, or at least establish an approximate time of death. Police spokesman Danielle Swift said bone evidence alone isn't usually enough to determine identity or even cause of death. These remains didn't just appear in the road. They were moved here, Swift said. Therefore, we're asking any witnesses to contact the police with information that might pertain to what happened. No other evidence was found along Sage Street or in yards of neighboring homes. More on this story as it develops. Whoever you are, whatever you are, you. I may not know you, but I can tell what this is, and I'm not fooled. Your Venus flytrap game won't work. I'll make damn sure to warn Jenny and the others too. So nice try, but no one is falling for your bait this time. It stops here. Updates. It has become painfully obvious that, although I want this to end, for all of us to have closure regarding Mark's disappearance, the trail he left has raised too many unanswered questions. Since the time I first published this site for Jen and those close to Mark, new information continues to arrive from a variety of sources. In my last posted email, I refused to take the bait. I said it would stop here, but it doesn't stop here. Not by any stretch. This page will chronicle my findings and other research as I discover them. Some may have no connection to how or why Mark vanished. Only time will tell. A final note, for those of you like Sandra and Nathan Condry, the truth is I don't yet know what to believe with this whole thing. But I do know what I don't want to believe. October 14th, 2004. Jen called. She spoke with Boise police again yesterday, and they have finally agreed to ship down the laptop. Once she gets it and looks at it herself, she'll send it my way. If I find anything new, I'll add it here. October 17th, 2004. Among the spam today, I received this email from someone who seemed to have stumbled upon the site. From Mr. Paranoia. Subject, the house. Very interesting. If it's real, I have some information for you. I don't know Mark, but that won't matter once I send you this link. Based on what I've researched, those who have figured out what this flytrap house is risk becoming its next victim. Not everyone is eaten by it, or them maybe. Some may just not be psychologically susceptible to it, the way some aren't able to be hypnotized. But if you walk away knowing too much about it, the house will get to you, sooner or later. Witness the Madsons. Maybe you don't want to know anything else. Well, regardless of how you feel about it, the site isn't for me. So in case you read it here first, send me what you have, and I'll decide if I want to share it, Mr. Paranoia. Also, don't expect me to publish your messages to me ever again. I'm not a PR firm. October 22nd, 2004. After trading emails several times with Mr. Paranoia, he finally sent the link mentioned in the October 17th email. Jen, I've read it already, and I want you to treat it as a hoax, unless you get something in the mail from a grocery store in Arizona. Call me when you've read it, and we'll talk. It's a live journal site, which means to read it chronologically, you need to scroll down to the bottom of the page and work your way up. The journal author is allegedly a 16-year-old named Danielle Stevens. Here's the link. And going to that link, and doing just that, reveals the following story from Danielle. October 11th, 2004, 10:21 p.m. New job. Hi everybody, especially Jonathan, XOXO. Here we go. It's Danny's first LJ. Hee hee. Well, it took me long enough. I just needed a reason for one. My life is pretty boring for the most part, so trying to keep a diary going felt like too much work. But whenever I get a job, like over the summer, I always have these great stories to tell. Like when I worked as a lifeguard for the Highland YMCA outdoor pool, or at the public library last year. You wouldn't think you'd meet so many weirdo people or end up on crazy adventures, like raccoon hunting with the drain net, but it happens to me all the time. Well, this time I will be sure to write them down here, because I have a new job. That's right, it's all part of Danny's genius plan to pay for Christmas. I want to get my friends and family nice things this year, so I took a babysitting job at a house 3 blocks away. Babysitting, yeah. It doesn't sound like a steady job, but this one is different. The Ellisons are both full-time working parents, programmers at some tech company downtown. When big deadlines get close, both of them have to work hella bad overtime hours, and they need someone to watch their daughter Linny from 5 to 10 Monday through Thursday. That seriously cuts into my downtime after school, but it's worth it. I keep telling myself that. I went over tonight and met Linny and Mr. and Mrs. Ellison. They look like total geeks. Their living room has a big screen TV, and also a table with 2 PCs and a bunch of other gear like DVD burners. The place is cold. They must run the AC a lot to keep their hardware from overheating. It's like that in the school computer room all the time. Linny is 8. She's quiet and shy, but she has the cutest crooked teeth smile. She likes Nintendo and Barbie. I think we'll get along fine. My first day is tomorrow. It's so weird to have someone's house key on my keyring. I guess my references were good enough for them though. Wish me luck, XOXO Danny. Current music, The Killers, somebody told me. October 12th, 2004, 10:55 p.m. First night. Whew, I'm back. First night babysitting was pretty easy. I got there a little before 5 and met Kathy. She's the one who takes Linny home from school. She has a boy who goes there too. She knew Mr. and Mrs. Ellison when they lived in Chicago and helped them find a place here. She was in a hurry, I guess, but she seems kinda rude. She told me to be on time so I won't have to wait for you. I was on time. I was early. Linny was still very quiet, but she doesn't know me, so that's okay. We played some Nintendo, and after dinner she wanted to play house. She has a dollhouse in her room, and it's really cute. I grabbed a Barbie doll and started to play with her, but she told me Barbie wasn't the right size for the house. It's true, too. Barbie is just way too tall. See what long legs get you sometimes? But Linny doesn't have any dolls for the house. She says it doesn't need any because it's just a house, but I think she secretly wants some. If we get along, I may add that to my Danny Christmas list project. I gotta remember to take a jacket with me next time though. It gets way cold and I didn't find the thermostat. I was gonna say something when Linny's mom and dad came home, but when they showed up they looked so tired. I don't know how they work such crazy hours. I just got my money and told them I'd be there tomorrow. And that was it. Pretty uneventful first day. So sleepy now. Off to bed. XOXO Danny. Current music, Michelle Branch, Are You Happy Now? October 13th, 2004, 10:34 p.m. Bizarre. Tonight was pretty bizarre. Lenny spent most of it in her room playing quietly, which was okay for me since I had to finish my American history paper. I made her soup for dinner and checked on her from time to time, but when it got close to her bedtime, I heard her talking to someone. So I went back to see if she was calling to me or just chatting with her dolls. She isn't supposed to be on the phone. She was moving furniture around her little house, just talking to herself. I think she was repeating stuff she overheard somewhere, maybe even in the house. You know how sometimes kids say stuff they don't realize could get their parents in trouble? I think Lenny was whispering, "Come on, Rick, answer the phone," and the door. Is Miss Ellison maybe seeing Rick on the side? When I tucked Lenny in bed, I asked her what she was saying before, and she just shrugged and said that it was stuff she heard. When I asked where she heard them, she said, around. We'll see if the plot thickens tomorrow night. Off to bed now. Danny. Current mood, confused. October 14th, 2004, 11:02 p.m. Crooked. OMG, Lenny is a strange little girl. Last night it was weird phrases, tonight it was a rhyme or some children's song. Something about a crooked man with 6 pants? I don't know. I mean, she can be cute and smiles a lot, but already I worry she doesn't get enough attention from her parents. Well, duh, otherwise I wouldn't have this job. She wanted to go to bed early tonight. I tucked her in and she hugged me and kept her arms around me for so long. She's definitely gonna get a Christmas present from me, even if I'm not her sitter by then. I told her a story to put her to sleep about a family of bears in a big house. I was using her dollhouse as the one where the bears lived, just improvising. So I was looking all over it and saw she had colored a room upstairs in red. Marked it all up with magic marker. Asked her what that room was, and she just said, the one upstairs. Why is it red? Lenny just shrugged like she didn't know. What's it for? It smells like cookies and candy. See what I mean? Strange. No idea what that's about. Oh, I almost forgot. On my way back to the living room, I found a set of keys on the floor in the hall, just lying there. I was like, WTF? They weren't mine, and the house keys didn't work on the doors for the house. I don't know how I missed them before. I think they belong to Rick, hee hee. Anyway, they have one of those grocery keychain cards on them, so I took them. Maybe I should have handed them over to Mr. and Mrs. Ellison, but what if I'm right, and Mom is having an affair, and those are to her boyfriend's place? I don't want to get anyone in trouble. This weekend, I'm going to go to the store and have them scan the little key card for me to see who it is. I'll be a good Samaritan and nosy at the same time. John's little brother sacks at the one on Camelback, I think. Yawn, what a week. Finally, I get a weekend to myself, though. I'll write if I find anything juicy about the keys. XOXO, Danny. Current music, Queensryche, Silent Lucidity. October 16th, 2004. 11:10 a.m. Keys. Well, that was a letdown. Okay, so I went and had the keychain card thing scanned at the Fry's, which worked, even though they were for another place, because it's all a part of a big chain of stores. The keys don't belong to anyone named Rick after all. The guy told me they're for somebody named Mark Hondry, I think it was. He lives in Texas. I didn't get them back either. It's policy to have the store mail them back. Whatever. Still, makes me wonder what in the world they were doing in Mr. and Mrs. Ellison's hall. LOL, listen to me. I'm like Nancy Drew. Okay, off to the mall. John is waiting. XOXO, Danny. Current mood, curious. October 18th, 2004. 10:31 p.m. Back on the job. What a weekend. Let's see. I hung out with John, saw the Puppet movie by those South Park guys, and went lipstick shopping because I read this article about how lipstick is undervalued now. Like, people don't wear it as often, and I love lipstick. Rebel. Tonight was pretty boring. Winnie was her usual quiet self, and we spent most of the night watching TV. We watched Aladdin twice, and then it was bedtime. The house wasn't cold this time. Or maybe it wasn't that bad since I brought a jacket and kept it on. Oh, I burned dinner. That was frustrating, because I know I set it for the right time. So I made us PB&J sandwiches instead. I'm such a mom. No joking about that. I gotta tell you, this one weird part was when I was cleaning up the kitchen after putting Lenny to bed, I heard what sounded like somebody barreling downstairs. Only, there are no stairs in the Ellison's house. I think it was just the TV, or maybe the garage door just makes a sound like that, because the Ellisons came in a few minutes later. Boy, they looked tired. They could have used a couple Danny special PB&Js themselves. I still don't know if I should mention finding the keys that belong to that Mark guy or not. Anyway, time for bed. Danny. Current mood, sleepy. October 19th, 2004, 10:48 p.m. Why am I doing this again? Bleh. I don't feel good. I've had a headache for half the night, just pounding on the back of my eyes. I've taken like 4 Advil already and it won't go away. Babysitting was a nightmare. I had 2 papers to write, plus lit homework, plus Tuesdays are workout days for me, but I got up late and couldn't work out in the morning, so I sort of squeezed in a quick 20-minute session after school. OMG, Lenny kept singing that stupid rhyme all night. It drove me nuts. I swear if I hear it one more time, I'll snap. I had such a hard time with everything tonight. The house got really cold at one point. Made my ears ring. You know, that high-pitched sound like they use for the test of the emergency broadcast system? Yeah, my ear was doing that. I thought it was the computers at first. Did I tell you about the PCs in the living room? Anyway, they are always on. I went over and checked them out. The table is like a spaghetti bowl of cables leading off behind furniture or into the wall. Turns out it's not them. The ringing was in my ear. But the Ellisons had some sort of monitoring program going on. All these numbers are scrolling like mad in a window. The program wasn't anything I recognized, but the file name was like TMP Test Attic. I didn't want to get in trouble, so I didn't touch them. It got warm in the hall. Lenny and I stayed there for a while. It also smelled good there, like a bakery. I think the vents must be messed up in that house. Seriously, I don't know how anyone could live like that all the time. I want to quit, but I don't want to hurt Lenny's feelings. Maybe I should just suck it up. Gah, there goes the ringing again. Current mood, drained. October 20th, 11:31 p.m. Home, finally. It's taken me this long to feel good enough to type. I got home over an hour ago. If last night was awful, tonight was 100 times worse. I don't know where to start. I got there at 5, waved bye to Kathy, played with Lenny some. The TV was acting up, so we had an early dinner. I made some raviolis with pasta sauce, and it was good. But when I was taking Lenny's plate, I thought I felt something touch me, and it made me jump, and the bowl spilled into Lenny's shoulder. She had pasta sauce in her hair. She asked for a bath, which was fine, but I had not given her a bath before. I was a little uncomfortable just because I wasn't familiar with the temp settings on the tub, and I didn't know how Lenny's mom and dad would feel about it, but Lenny kept pleading with me to stay with her for the bath. So I ran the water and helped her into the tub. This string came out of the faucet as the tub filled up. It made Lenny nervous. I tried to tug on it and pull it all the way out, but it must have been caught on something from inside the pipes. It just dangled from the faucet and floated on the water. Some of the pasta sauce had gotten in Lenny's hair, so I rinsed it out a little. There wasn't any soap in the guest bath, so I went to the Ellisons' bedroom to borrow from their master bath. That's when Lenny started screaming. I have never been so chilled to the bone before hearing her tonight. It was horrible hearing her scream. I turned and ran back to her as fast as I could, and when I got back, she was hanging onto the edge of the tub trying to get out, and the string was wrapped around her leg. I yanked and yanked at it again, but it wouldn't budge, and Lenny kept screaming, "Get it off, get it off." And so I started trying to unwind it from her leg with the shampoo in the water, or something made it slippery, and I started crying, and then suddenly, the string went slack, and I tore Lenny away. She had a set of marks on her like stripes, where the string had cut into her skin. Later, when I went back with a pair of scissors, the string was gone, and the water had drained away. We spent the rest of the night in the living room on the couch, piled under 2 blankets and pillows from the Ellisons' bed. Lenny eventually fell asleep, but I was so worried about her and confused about what happened. I was a nervous wreck. At around 9 p.m., one of the PCs started beeping like crazy. I got up to check on it. An alert had popped up. It said, like that. Then the power cut out and back on again. Only some of the lights didn't come on. Just a light from down the hall. In the hall it was easier to see, but I took a wrong turn on my way back. The tiny hall and door that leads to the garage was not where I thought it was. Instead, I found a set of stairs. Like, real stairs. Going up. And it smelled like cake. Like right out of the oven. I felt so lost and strange. I can't explain it. Except, I didn't think the house had a second story. It's too hard to see from outside. I finally found a way into the kitchen, and from there went back to Lenny, who was still asleep. It got real cold after that. When the Ellisons got home, I told them about the bath and the other problems, but I didn't mention the stairs. Then I told them I couldn't babysit anymore. I think I used schoolwork as an excuse. They said they understood, but I could tell they were depressed about it. I'm sorry, but I just can't keep doing it. Well, Mrs. Ellison asked me to please just make it one more night, and then they would get a new sitter over the weekend to start on Monday. She paid me in advance for tomorrow, too. I didn't want to say yes. I don't want to go back, but I felt so bad for leaving them on such short notice. And really, what if it's just me being a spaz? Like, I'm freaking myself out or something. Anyway, I told Mrs. Ellison yes. One more night. I can do this. I will come back and tell you about the final 5 hours of sitting for Lenny in that house, and come Friday, I will talk about something new, like my friends Dawn and Kim, or how I love Starbucks strawberry cream fraps, or whatever, just to keep me in the habit of writing here. I think I've been pretty good about it anyways. I sort of get on and start typing automatically before I go to bed. Okay. I wish I wasn't so scared of going back. I feel so empty. Danielle. Current mood, numb. October 21st, 2004, 11:41 p.m. No subject. There was a crooked man, and he walked a crooked mile. He found a crooked sixpence upon a crooked stile. He bought a crooked cat, who caught a crooked mouse, and they all lived together in a crooked little house. Red Rover, let Jenny come over. October 31st, 2004, 2 p.m. No subject. Found you. The text "found you" is actually a link, and while it's not one that's active anymore, if you use the Wayback Machine, it leads to a blog called Missing Since September. It reads the following. Wednesday, October 27th, 2004. Hello. Okay, I'll admit it. I just made this so I could talk to my friend Eric since he has a blog here. If I have any real news, I guess I'll put it here. Oh, the title refers to my boyfriend, Mark. It's a long story. Jen. So we know already that the house has found Eric, seeing as how it sent him the report of the bones being found on the street. However, from "found you" being a link to Jen's blog, it's clearly been made aware of her as well. And Mark is aware that the house is trying to get to Jenny, through the keys, through the "found you" link, and he posts the following on his blog on October 26th, 2004. Jen, please call me back. I know it must be driving you crazy, but do not go to Phoenix. Mark was never there despite what the postmark says on that box. The keys are just like the article about Andrew. Bait. Please, don't go. Send me the laptop and we'll figure it out together, okay? I wouldn't have to put this here if you'd answer your phone. I know you visit this page regularly. Call me. October 26th, 2004. Late. Lots of responses. I didn't expect this. Thank you all for your support and your technical notes. At this time, I cannot involve and will not involve anyone else for a number of reasons. Please respect my decision on this matter. I'll keep the contact information for the paranormal investigators, and I will continue to help those close to Mark as best as I can. Please, no more phone calls. Connie is going out of her mind. Thank you. October 27th, 2004. Sandra, Nathan, check your emails. I finally heard back from the Sprint PCS service representative today. No more account authorization hassles. He said their records show and have billed for only 14 text messages from Mark's phone on September 21st, the last one timestamped at 5:11. He's sending me a copy of the logs, but I'm not sure if they'll do us any good at this point. Awaiting the laptop now. October 28th, 2004. I've been contacted by Diane M., who says she was friends with Lucy Madson when she lived in Houston. Hello, Eric. A friend linked me to the site asking if this was the same Lucy I knew when I lived in Sugarland. After doing some reading, I'm convinced it is. I had no idea what happened to her after she and John moved. Lucy and I met through a little book club with some mutual friends started up. We were both avid readers. Yes, she and John had all sorts of unexplainable problems with that house. I remember seeing some of them firsthand, like the leak. After reading about your friend Mark, I stewed a bit, then called up my father. I often talked with Lucy on AIM when she lived here, and thought maybe some of those old dialogues would be of use to you, but they would have been on my old PC which I gave to my dad, a year ago. I went over earlier tonight and dug through the program files for any sign of my AIM chats with Lucy way back when. Dad had removed a lot of stuff, he deletes things, but I did find a scrap from February of '99. It's the one I remembered, the one that made me curious to visit. Note, I don't really think it's a supernatural thing. I'm more prone to believe Lucy had a sort of nervous breakdown and created or imagined traumatic moments in the house. The rest of it, like your friend's experience, I can't explain. But I hope you find closure soon. The attachment wouldn't open, but hopefully Diane will try again. Update. I got the chat log and converted it to HTML. I don't know if Diane is still using her screen name, or if Lucy's is taken by a new user now, so to protect both from any unwarranted IMs, I've removed the numbers from the end of their nicknames. If there are any users with the nicknames in this log, they are not the same people, FYI. Here's the AIM chat log. And the following is the chat log between Lucy and Diane. February 10th, 1999. 2:24 p.m. Hey, Lucy. Hey. You still at the office? Yeah. So tired. Oh, by the way, I finally picked up that Adams book. Looking forward to reading it. Tired. Still having problems with the house. What did the electrician say? You cannot find anything wrong. Oh, BS. Yeah. John is calling another tech today. Good for him. You want to come over tomorrow night? Grab some dinner? I'll bring Paul so the men can talk hockey. But it's not just the short circuits. Sure. That sounds nice. Oh Lord, is it turning into a money pit? I don't know. I hear things now and then. It's weird. Like things in the walls? Is it Orkin time? Not like that. Voices. Voices? I don't believe in ghosty, but it's like that. That's the closest comparison. Whoa. You're serious? I went to the laundry room Monday night to get an extra blanket for the bed, and I swear I heard someone choking in the hallway. It was like choking. Lucy, that's horrible. There's a weird mark on the wall there that cuts off at the ceiling. You think? Is it haunted? Do you know much about the place? I think it's stress. I think I'm just falling apart. I'm so sorry. The movers, my mom getting sick, and John's crazy hours at the new job working for those French oil people. It's making me all stressed out. You need a spa day. Pronto. But I'm here for you. Thanks. You're the bestie. Oh, and did I tell you about the leak? The fridge? No. In the master bedroom, there's a leak. Hold up. The bedroom? Yeah. From the attic. It's in the corner of the ceiling. A big stain. And it's spreading. Water damage? I know it rained recently. This is something else. It's slowly eating at the paint on the drywall. WTF? Plumber? John went home early to meet the plumber, yeah. They searched the attic up and down and couldn't find where it was coming from. The plumber says it doesn't seem like chemicals. Doesn't smell like that. What does it smell like? Like, I don't know. Like bile? Vomit? No, more like stomach acid. This is just too weird, Lucy. I want to come over tonight. Can I come over? I'd rather come and see you just to get out. Okay. We'll go to Ninfa's. First round of margaritas is on me. Sounds really good. I gotta go now. Call later. Okay. Going back to Eric's blog, on October 29th, 2004, he posted this. Laptop arrived. There's a lot to sort through here. Most notably some pictures Mark must have downloaded from his camera phone. But his laptop wasn't equipped with Photoshop, or any other photo app. So I can't see more than thumbnails. I'll move them to my hard drive along with recent files and see what I can find. Also, it's crunch time at the office, so I'll be working this weekend, FYI. Maybe we could all use a little mental break from this. October 31st, 2004. Hooray for automated FTP uploading. If this sees publication, it means I'm still not back from my trip to the never-ending suburban grid in the valley. Consider it a precautionary update. When I return, I will remove this link since I can't stand sounding like some sort of martyr, nor do I like to cause a panic. In the meantime, in case it could wind up being important, I've been keeping a personal blog on a remote host. Don't worry about me, Connie. I'm sure I'll have quite a story to tell. Love, Eric. And judging that this post is still uploaded over 20 years later, it's safe to say that something kept Eric from coming back and deleting this post. And looking at his personal blog tells us exactly what happened. The first post on Eric's personal blog was Tuesday, October 26th, 2004, titled, Getting Surreal. What the hell am I doing? I'm going crazy. Ever since I first got pulled into this whole ordeal, ever since Mark's first email to me, I've been spiraling. Now I'm struggling just to separate facts from the fog, the real from the unreal. For weeks I've been trying to keep his disappearance and everything trailing after that at arm's length, and I've failed. I'm an absolute mess. I don't know what to think. I can't help the Condries or Jen any more than I already am, yet I feel wholly inadequate to answer their questions. The truth is I simply don't know. I don't. I wish I did. The one person who can answer them has been missing since September 21st, and it's possible he lied to me about what he was doing. And to make matters worse, I can't even lean on Connie. She doesn't like the fact that I keep updating Mark's site, or that I'm talking to Jen in the middle of the night, but I don't think she understands. The questions she asks, they're always centered around Jen and what I was talking about on the phone. I know that turn of hers. In the midst of this terrifying ordeal, she thinks I'm cheating on her. I can't dump my thoughts and feelings on the site I made for Mark. Too many people, including Jen and Connie, are paying attention now. And when I've called Cam, he's been more interested in the crazy theories than how I'm feeling. The email box I set up for questions by Mark's family is now flooded with messages from total strangers. Some of them a little too eager to help. Or maybe I'm just paranoid now. I need a place to unload all these things weighing down on me. And, as I've come to appreciate so well in the last month, a place to record events in my life. This is just for me. A little sanctuary, or maybe a confessional. Here's something I haven't told Connie yet, nor Jen for that matter. Yesterday morning when I took out the trash, I saw a man standing at the other end of the alley, over on the La Brea side. Just standing there, staring at me. He was wearing this sweatsuit like a jogger wears. It looked dirt-stained, and his hair was unkempt. I tried not to stare back. I think he may be homeless. This morning I saw him again, down by Olympic, just standing and staring at me as I drove by. Christ, I'm going out of my mind, I just know it. 7:36 a.m. He's out there again. I can see him, between the two apartment buildings across the street, just standing there. I'm torn between the urge to confront him or to call the police. Connie isn't talking to me much this week. Used to be we'd get up together and chat over breakfast. Now she just sleeps through. She won't let me kiss her on the lips. I know she's just worried about me and maybe concerned I've become obsessed. Maybe she's right. I'm late for work, and the car has been acting up on me. God damn it, the last thing I need now is a trip to the dealer in Burbank. And in the comments on this post, there's actually correspondence between Eric and Jenny. Hi, Eric. I'm so sorry to hear about the troubles you're having with Connie. If you want, I'll stop calling, but really you have been such a big help. And no, I won't go to Phoenix. But it drives me crazy, Eric, not being able to really do anything. Jen. Eric said, Jen, thank you, and I'm so sorry if I inadvertently dumped all this personal stuff on you just by getting it off my chest. Don't you worry about me. And yeah, I know what you mean about feeling hopeless, but hang in there. Back on the main blog, at 7:07 p.m., Eric posted, strange text message. I got this on my cell phone today. The caller ID is listed as unknown, and my text replies bounce back. The message reads, Beware, Flesh Puppet. On Wednesday, October 27th, 2004, at 10:16 p.m., Eric posted, a dose of normalcy. Good news, Jen. Not all things are crazy. I realized that today after shirking off the sense of suspicion and paranoia I've been carrying around. Maybe it will help you too. I'm just going to rattle off a few things here, call it a mental exercise, call it what you will. It's helped me calm down. The car drove smoothly today, no engine hiccups. It actually rained here last night, and the air has that crisp feel to it. I walked to lunch from the office and passed by all these people who were out, people with normal lives. I stood next to a guy at the crosswalk and listened to him chat to a friend on a cell phone about GTA San Andreas. I brought home some sushi takeout for Connie. She's finally able to eat regularly again, and I know she's been craving it. When she gets really excited or happy, it's like she can't talk. She just makes this high-pitched giggle squeal and claps the palms of her hands. I absolutely adore that about her. Sushi equals squeal-worthy. No sign of Sweatsuit Man. I think he's gone. So yeah, there's plenty of good things going on. I can't let the bad thoughts creep in and ruin the rest. I hope you have some good ones too. And I'll let you know when the FedEx guy shows up with the laptop. Jen would comment, thank you for that note. Sorry I haven't been by here in a couple days. Just spent the day printing up flyers with Mark's photo on them. I know it won't really do any good, but it makes me feel like I'm at least being productive some way. And it keeps me from thinking about the fly trap. On Thursday, October 28th, 2004 at 10:20 p.m., Eric posts, thoughts and theories. It's been a long day. I'm buried in more email and I've had 2 glasses of wine. Time for a long, rambling post full of tangents and disturbances, starring an ensemble cast of the horrific little thoughts that I've been collecting in the back of my mind since September. Yay. So the problem with this whole mess, with Andrew and Mark and Danielle, and who knows how many others, the problem is it's crazy. You'd have to be crazy to take this all in and convince yourself, yeah, it happened, and it will continue to happen. So let's get crazy, Jen. I'm already there. I'm to the point that I think the reason something this horrific continues to spread is the power of human denial. Skepticism and curiosity, a dangerous duo. The house knows this. It banks on it. It will get its next victim that way, and prevent the truth from becoming so widespread and accepted as to blow its cover. The old line about the greatest trick the devil ever pulled. Alright, so there is a house. A set of houses. Identical. How? I don't know. The houses are inexorably tied. They share some sort of space in some way. I picked up a science book the other day called The Holographic Universe, and Talbot, the author, talks about the phenomenon of this decaying photon particle, and how when it decays, it suddenly seems to be in 2 places at once. But really, it's just the way we're perceiving it, with the tools we're using, that gives it that illusion. There's this whole example. If you had a guy who didn't know what a camera or TV was, and hadn't seen a fish before, and then you set him down in front of 2 monitors, each focusing on different angles of the same fish, his knee-jerk conclusion would be that there are 2 separate creatures somehow behaving as a unified pair. What one does, the other does. I know I butchered that, but the book is in my car, so you'll just have to bear with me. So this house is like that photon particle. It's in different places, but also in the same place. See, this explains the strange sounds and voices people hear inside. The sound is bleeding through from other locations, other iterations of the same hallway. For example, maybe Lenny heard Mark trying to reach me on the phone, and even though he was in Boise, and she lives or lived in Arizona. Then there's the way it regurgitates things like keys. They don't show up in the same place either. But then again, the entire second story isn't supposed to exist, so all bets are off, right? I'd like to find the architect who drew up these plans and lock him in an upstairs room. Okay, so the house can do one of two things to you. 1, digest you. 2, sort of partially digest you, hollow you out as Mark would say, and make you a subservient tool to obey the house. Why would it need to use us like that? Again, 2 options spring to mind. 1, self-preservation, and 2, appetite. An example of self-preservation, the Madsons. They'd been in the house, lived there for some time, and they managed to escape. I'm guessing here, maybe they posed a risk, like Mr. Paranoia mentions. Was that risk due to them having stayed so long in the house without falling victim, or was it a discovery? It had to be something big for the house to keep tracking them for 4 years. If Drew kept taking jobs at Blockbuster video stores, maybe he had the Madson's account info and could tell where they were renting movies. Speaking of, Mark mentions Drew had a lot of IDs for different states. Did he stay in another iteration of the house in each state? How many are there? The appetite theory is self-explanatory. The house uses people who then use emails, articles, etc. as lures to ensnare new victims. Flies. I know I'm leaning heavily on Mark's original theory now, but I agree with him. Maybe I secretly believed him all along. And if that's true, Christ, it's Andrew all over again. I let Mark slip away because I didn't want to face this mess, and now he haunts me the same way Drew haunted him. A memory. I'm so close, Jen. I'm sitting here, trying to convince myself of the same ridiculous, insane, terrible thoughts Mark attempted to share 5 weeks ago. Why is the unexplained so taboo we can't accept it? We can't go to friends for help? Did you know the human eye only sees about 40% of what we think is really there? Our brains interpolate the rest and fill in the missing space. There's a visual exercise in this quantum book that demonstrates it. I don't know what that has to do with this, but it stuck in my head after reading about it. I want to see Mark again. I want this whole nightmare to be over, Jen. I feel so bad I wake up aching in my chest at night. I leave lights on. I worry I'm starting to go crazy, and the act of worrying pulls me further from sanity. But I still worry. About you, about Connie, and me. Are we in danger? Are we in a position to kill this monster that took Mark? Is that why we're also in danger? Too many questions. And the wine is doing all the talking now. Off to bed. Jen would comment on this one. Hey, hang in there, Eric. I know what you mean. I'm having the same feelings and thoughts, just like you wrote here. It's good to get them out. Really, it is. Let me tell you how far I've gone so you won't feel so alone in this. I thought some more about the flytrap idea and went to a nursery to see one of the plants close up. Have you seen a Venus flytrap? I really didn't know what they looked like. I mean, aside from old cartoons. Here's a picture I found online. Unfortunately, this image, even using the Wayback Machine, seems to be lost to time. It looks like the one I saw at the nursery. Notice something, Eric? All those mouths. They're all alike. Now it sounds like I've been drinking the wine. Jen. Eric would reply, Hey you. I'm doing better this morning, yeah. It comes and goes. One night all is well, and the next I'm a conspiracy theorist or something. But you're right. It feels good to talk about these things. Just to get them out. Call you later. Eric. On Friday, October 29th, 2004, at 8:03 p.m., Eric posts, Return of Sweatsuit Man. Yes, he's back again. This time he has a vehicle. I saw him parked along the curb, just across the street from my building. He was in this dirt-caked pickup truck with a crooked fender, just staring at the main entrance like it was a bank he was about to rob. I guess that rules out homeless. Who the hell is that guy? I don't like it. I'm really trying not to be paranoid. Really. 11:33 a.m. I should be working, but but I keep going back to the printout I took with me to the office. The one from Mark's PC. This has to be a picture of the house. It looks exactly like Mark described. You know the funny part? It really doesn't look scary. It's just this generic, slightly neglected thing. I keep staring at it, as if I'll see Mark's face in a window or a second story, or the front door will suddenly swing open. But none of that happens. It's just a low-res snapshot of a house. I've emailed it to you, Jen. I'll send along anything else I find tonight, but so far, nothing exciting. He was a great guy, you know. A great guy. Jen would comment, "Thank you so much, Eric. Just got the email. And thanks for the kind words about Mark. I miss him so much. Call me if you learn anything new. And please stay away from strangers. Jen." Saturday, October 30th, 2004. 9:09 p.m. It's here. Jen, where are you and why haven't you answered your cell? I don't see how you would check here before checking voicemail, but just in case, call me. I got home from work at around 7 p.m. and saw Sweatsuit Man driving out of the alley in his pickup. I don't know if I was just fed up or suspicious, but this time I followed him. It was night, and I felt that I could follow a reasonable distance without drawing much attention. If he knew my car, it would have been harder to identify at night. Anyway, he drove north on Highland and entered the 101 westbound. We stayed on the freeway all the way to the 405, where he merged north for the valley. There was some heavy traffic there, and for a few minutes I couldn't see the pickup, but I found him again as we passed Victory. He exited Sherman Way and headed east, and I got stuck at a light on the Northridge Med Center and lost him again. I just kept driving and looking. I thought I saw a pickup take a right on a residential street and followed. I had no idea where I was, no way to write down the street names. I have MapQuest open in another window right now, and I'm narrowing it down, trying to recognize familiar names. I'd gotten lost after taking too many zigzags, chasing after taillights. Some of the stop signs had no street labels, just an unmarked intersection. But I know the general area, and I made my way back to the freeway. I can retrace my steps in the daylight. I found the house, Jen, and the pickup. It's the same house. The lights weren't on, but I could see it well enough under the street lamp. Same floor plan, same elevation. Not sure if the gate had a plank missing, it was too dark. But it's the one. I called Cameron as soon as I got to a place where I had signal again. He's on his way over. Connie is at her mother's this weekend. I think we're going to go over tomorrow, middle of the day, and confront the man. I'll round up anyone else I can too, power in numbers. If, given the chance, we can enter the house, I'm undecided. I want to be able to put a stop to this madness, to explore or explain it, and that may require going inside and facing the madness. But this time, we won't be unprepared. And the last post on this blog is Sunday, October 31st, 2004, 10:19 a.m. Early start. It's not yet noon, but I haven't been able to sleep since last night, and waiting seems pointless. The sun is up. Let's go, let's go. Cam is on his way over now. I went to Home Depot early this morning and bought some supplies for the trip. I already had a few essentials here, mostly electronics. We're taking 2 high-powered flashlights, a Canon digital ELPH camera, a Sony mini camcorder, nose plugs, Swiss Army knives with built-in scissors, and a laser pointer. Now and then, I glance over at the gear and chuckle. It's like we're going on some hiking trip. Except Cam is bringing his handgun. That scares me more than anything right now. I don't want anyone to get shot today, even Sweatsuit Man if he's home. If we need to involve police, the firearm will make things look worse. And lastly, it's not like he's going to unload a clip into the drywall. We may have 2 more coming with us. 2 friends of Cam's who are along for the ride. I don't know either of them, but I guess the more the merrier. An outside perspective would do me good. Connie won't be back from her mother's till about 4 p.m. I should be home long before then. The main objectives of this trip: 1, confront Sweatsuit Man, find out who he is, and 2, document the house, including address info. Update. Cam's friends can't make it. It's just the 2 of us. Well, that makes it easier to keep an eye on each other. He's on his way up. Jen, I'm guessing you had to recharge your cell overnight or something. Call me. Here we go. At 11:02 a.m., Jenny would comment, Eric, wait, I just now got all your messages. Don't go, just call the police or something. You told me the same thing when I went to go to Phoenix, remember? Now you're not answering your phone. Please answer your phone. This waiting is killing me. And then there is another reply of note. One from a user called Danny Girl. This same handle used by Danielle, the woman who watched Lenny at the house. She said, Jenny Levin, where are you? The boys are all inside now. Come and find us. The door is open. As stated earlier, the message posted by Eric on October 31st on his main blog was automated, one that he promised to take down upon his return. Which means he never came back. And confirming this is the next update on the blog. October 4th, 2005. This is Connie. It has been nearly 1 year since Eric drove off and never came back. I don't know how to do HTML. I don't know if this is how Eric did things. I'll be doing good just to copy this page back onto the website. What has happened in a year? A lot. Not enough. I don't have any answers, just a million questions. Let's see. I met Jennifer and Rachel, who is Cam's girlfriend. The three of us still keep in touch. Legally, Eric and Mark and Cam are considered missing. That makes some things very hard on us. What else? I have a mountain of files, emails, letters, digital photos, that may or may not have anything to do with the disappearances. Every time I try to start in, I get overwhelmed. So last week I hired someone to go through all of it for me and see if anything made sense. The reason I'm finally learning this thing is that he has found one or two pieces to this puzzle, and I feel a responsibility to continue what my husband began. This is a test post. Later this week, after I hear back from Jenny, I'll post more information. October 12th, 2005. Well, for one reason or another, the new information has yet to be verified. So, until I hear back from my source, I can't post the link. Now I get how hard this is. You never know who is on the other end of a modem. Thank you for your patience, all three of you who are still reading. And then the final post on the main blog, October 14th, 2005. Despite the fact that she just used her diary to lash out at me instead of answering me privately, I will link to a live journal by a woman who claims to know what both Mark and Eric were investigating. Edit. Okay, I'm still figuring out the link thing. Hoping that works. And while this is the end of the main blog, it brings us to another. The final piece of the puzzle that we will be dissecting for this video, the blog of Laureen Mathers. August 16th, 2005, 12:40 p.m. You must hear the truth. My name is Laureen Mathers, and I don't know much about the internet, and I don't care to. The reason I'm in this so-called internet diner in old downtown, I am about to tell you which city, thank you kindly, is because there is no record of what I did in October of 2001. Not anymore. I killed a man. Killed him dead. Thing of it was, he was trying to kill me first, and I don't take too kindly to that sort of behavior. At the time, I was in another state from the one with my last known address, a tourist. Never mind, I had all my shit in the back of my old station wagon and a revolver in my glove box. To anyone else, I was a visitor from out of town. So was the man I shot to death. He wasn't a local either. See, we both were from Boise. There was a trial, there were lawyers, and all that shit, and I would have been happy to serve my time in a cell for what I'd done. One of the safest places for me to be, considering what I know. But the damn lawyer got me up on the chair next to the judge and asked me why I did what I did, and I told him. Told all of them. I went on for 11 pages in the court transcripts, laying out everything I know about it. And my big mouth got me just 9 months in a mental facility. 9 months. Like my delusion was a pregnancy, and once I'd had it out of me, I could go free, out among the world. Now I'm out. Been out for a few years. I still carry a gun on me too, and I am not afraid to kill again if cornered. Maybe I've walked right past you, but I guarantee you didn't pay a cent of attention to me, and that's the way I like it. I would have stayed that way. Never to go into one of these coffee places with computers hooked up on the tables like we're in the Jetsons. Because anyone who wanted to know the truth just had to read the court transcripts. It was all there. But they're gone. Disappeared from Boise police. Man named Mark Condrey came looking for them, then calling me. That's how I know. Used to be you could type my name into the search engine things like Wahoo, and my name would get you these stories about the shooting in Salt Lake City. Now there's nothing. Well, I am to put a stop to that. I'm going to tell you what happened, and also what happened to that fellow Mark, and a slew of other names you may not recognize. The first thing I can tell you is this. They aren't houses. Stop thinking of them like houses. As soon as I can panhandle enough money for another hour on this bitch box, I'll be back. LM. September 20th, 2005, 11:33 p.m. New town, same worrying. All it took was one entry on this journal thingy, and I had a man in a sweatsuit come trolling around downtown for me. Took me a good week to make sure I had shaken him loose. Now I'm in a different place, new Jetsons Cafe, and I got a new shopping cart from Target down the street. It's a good cart. Got smooth wheels, no pulling to the left or right, no squeaking. I just need to find a good place to sleep tonight. So, about Boise. I best get to that now before someone finally catches up to me. And now, it's really just a matter of time before I'm dragged through the front door of a house that smells like fresh bread and warm blood. As I said, they aren't houses. Here's what I know, and what I said to everyone in the courtroom. It started with little things. This was a week after I moved in, summer before my first semester teaching. The sound traveled in odd ways, especially in the kitchen. No echo, even in empty rooms. Now and then, I thought I felt the carpet wiggle under my feet. The outlet things, they felt, I don't know how to put it, I guess soft is the word? Like I was jamming the plug into a jar full of jelly. Power fluttered a lot, but damned if I could find a fuse box. Thermostat didn't seem to care how I futzed with it. The air just came on when it wanted to, and most of the time, it was warm, and it smelled like cinnamon toast. All this feels par for the course when you buy a home at an auction. I got in one of these deals where the bank offloads all the real estate they reclaimed from defaulted loans or some shit. You get what you pay for? Not this time. Not even close. I tried getting into the attic, see if there was anything like a fuse box there. I searched all up and down the house for a trap door to the crawl space. No sign of it anywhere. So I did what any self-respecting middle-aged woman would do. I went out and bought an axe. Soon as I jammed the axe into the hall ceiling, it all started to go to hell. Shit. Internet cafe guy shooing me off. Be back when I can. October 4th, 2005, 8:21 p.m. Continued from last entry. Let's try this again. Last two times I got on here, I was halfway through typing a new entry when I got kicked out for smelling bad. But late last night, I snuck into a condo, took a bath on the rooftop pool, and changed into fresh clothes I bought at the thrift store. Getting right back to it. The house bled. Not like red human blood, but something else. It got on my eyes when I chucked that axe into the ceiling. Went into the kitchen and wiped my eyes with a towel, and when I went back to the hall, a trap door had suddenly opened up from the ceiling, and a set of steps or stairs extended to the floor. Like I had a whole second level or something. I couldn't see past the threshold. Not because of the angle, but because it was so damn dark. At first I just thought something black and large was just blocking the way up. But it wasn't an object. The smell was the most bizarre. A thick, heavy scent of sweets and baked goods that was trying desperately to drown out the stench of rotting meat. Made me queasy, and I wanted to go up there. No, that's not entirely true. I didn't want to go, but at the same time I had this urge to step up the stairs, like that's what happened next. I needed to keep going. Maybe just poke my head in and look around in all that dark. I started arguing with myself about it, and by the time I finally listened to the screaming in my head, I was already 2 steps off the floor. I turned and ran as fast as I could for the front door. The whole house was making these weird noises overhead, and the walls crackled like I was an old clipper ship out at sea. The knob on the door wouldn't turn, and my hands were all sweaty by now. I tried kicking the goddamn thing, but it was no use. The door would not open. Behind me, I heard this loud sound, like a chorus of fat men sucking on their teeth. It came from somewhere in the middle of the house. I wasn't going to try and get past the stairs to the sliding door in the back. It was out the front, or not at all. I grabbed a chair from the little dining area and bashed it against the kitchen window and looked out on the front yard. Let me tell you, I swung that thing like the bases were loaded. I'm no wimp. I once took down a guy a full foot taller than me outside a bar, and that was when I was a little tipsy. But damned if that window didn't break. Here's what it did. It stretched, like it was made of see-through skin. That chair bounced back and cracked me in the skull, hard, and I was left bleeding from my scalp. A real gusher. The carpet in the living room started swaying like it was grass in a breeze, and that smell started filling up the front half of the house, making me wonder why I didn't walk up the stairs in the first place, making me think that the best bet was now to go up and see if there was a way out from the attic. And it took some miracle for me to find my way to the kitchen with a bloody face, hands scrambling for that towel again. But what I found was a bread knife. Those serrated ones with the fork end. I made like I was going back to the living room, and then dove out the window again, screaming like a banshee. And I fell right onto the porch outside. It was like the window just opened up ahead of me. That knife was Moses and the glass was the Red Sea. That's how I remember it. Stone cold truth. What really did the trick was what I found when I went back 2 days later. October 11th, 2005, 10:46 a.m. Formulas. Vomit notes. If body fresh, eaten by house less than 24 hours. Strings attached. If body cooked, inside mouth for more than 24 hours, no strings visible. If body stale, too long, time inside mouth, bones. Physical strings. Small range, just within the house. Can't go outside. Very, very fast movement. No strings. Able to go outside and perform basic tasks. Slower. Used as a lure or bait. Bones. Digested in fluid for too long, or house gets hungry. Warning signs. Open sore at the nape of neck. Last string disconnected from here. Repeats phrases. Unusually strong or weak. Connection theory. Potentially all the same house. Time-space anomaly. Multidimensional. Beyond human understanding. October 13th, 2005, 10:55 a.m. For Connie. Well, I was gonna pick up where I left off last week, but I had to wade through 4 emails from some woman before I could get here. I don't have time to respond to all of them. This bitch box cost me money. Money I could be spending on booze or coffee. My lifeblood. Look, Connie, or whoever you are, I don't give a shit if you believe me or not. It's not my mission to validate my experience for you and your little project. Yes, I did talk with Mark Condry. I'm getting to that. As for proof or whatever you're looking for from me, did you not read the bottom entry here? The proof is gone. I can't even prove I was a resident in Idaho anymore. Either you believe me or you don't. Put up a link if you want to. Get the word out. Let people decide for themselves. No way in hell am I gonna meet you somewhere. I didn't survive this long by being stupid. If you want, I can describe Mark for you. I can do that much. I'll send that your way. As for my last entry with the formulas, I just wanted to get that written down before I forgot. I'll talk about them more later. Some of it is speculation. Some of it I've seen with my own eyes. I'm not playing tic-tac-toe, so none of that XO shit. LM. And then the very last post for the Dionaea house. January 17th, 2006, 11:46 p.m. I'm back. 3 months, 5 states later. I got news, kiddies, so sit down and hear me out. Okay, first off about what I was saying earlier, before that woman contacted me and I suddenly got popular, about my house. You know, that was my house. Maybe that's just how we Americans operate, but once I put a payment on anything, that sucker's mine. So after 2 days, I done came up with a few conclusions, the first of which was, I didn't really see what I thought I saw. It was a monoxide leak. Or I got sloshed and had some episode. 2 days in a motel was plenty for me to work up the old courage and go back. Somebody was living in the house. In my house. Twin brothers. My stuff was there. At least the furniture I could see through the windows, but they were living it up like nothing was wrong. The window I thought I busted through was replaced and everything looked almost normal, but damn if you just don't know what to do when you come home and find two strangers living in your house. I wasn't even bothered that they could be out to kill me or something. You know what worried me? That they were going through my stuff, putting their grubby paws all over my music CDs, my underwear, sleeping under my covers, damn it. I would have stayed outside, just watching them move around like shadows behind the drapes. But then this nest of blackbirds made a racket flying out of that little elm tree in the front yard. And I see those twins at the window staring at me. And then the front door opened like someone was there inviting me inside. But no one was there. And something in the Lorraine brain said no monoxide leak, no drunken nightmare, move your ass. So I listened, and I bailed. Left my CDs and my clothes and my house behind. A few months later, one of them brothers found me in Utah, and I had to kill him. Now I got some of that out of the way. I need to tell you the important information. Enough with the history. I'm your secret agent, out in the field, getting you the files you need to stay alive. Theory. Somebody had to start building these things, right? I started snooping around. Here's what I found out. Get your pencils out. Near as I can tell, the original designer of the floor plans was a man named Jared Lewis. He tore down his own house in Topeka and built a new one on top of the foundation. Family left him at some point in the process. Okay, but here's more. Lewis was an old student or disciple of some nut named Jack Parsons. Man, oh man, is there a ton of background on Parsons. Too much to go into here. But this Lewis guy went after this home building project like he was some land-based Noah. So I'm still collecting information on this Jared Lewis and his little group of followers. I should also have some goodies, like an actual floor plan and maybe some photos of the house, assuming I get up the courage to visit the one in the city where I'm squatting now. Damn, gotta go. Talk more later. And that brings an end to Dionaea House.
So unfortunately, that is a pretty abrupt cliffhanger. But this isn't the author's fault. This isn't the case of an author simply getting bored and not wanting to continue their work, but instead an example of an author being forced to quit the project he was working on. See, the author is Heisserer, and this story would actually become so successful that he would end up selling the rights of the story to Warner Brothers. They wanted to turn this into a big feature film since it was gaining so much popularity, but because of Warner Brothers owning the rights, they would eventually forbid Eric from updating the story online. They wanted to save all the ideas and everything for the movie, seemingly. But this movie wouldn't come to fruition, at least not by a big studio. It got stuck in development hell for several years, and there hasn't been any progress made on developing it further in a very long time, so it's unlikely that unless something is to change, this movie is never going to see the light of day. Nor are updates going to be allowed until somehow Eric is granted permission to do so. And seeing as how it's been almost 20 years, that's unlikely. However, the happy ending here is that Eric has actually had a very promising career as a screenwriter. He's been attached to several really big projects, such as the 2008 Nightmare on Elm Street remake, The Conjuring 2, and Arrival. So at the very least, the Dionaea House not coming to fruition is more a minor setback that paved the way for a promising career. So things ended up very well for the real-life Eric, but obviously, as we know, the same can't be said for his Dionaea House counterpart. Speaking of, I feel that even though the story was left unfinished, there is more than enough information for us to put together what's really going on in the world of Dionaea House. Let's start with the last piece of the puzzle that was presented to us in the very last entry of the story by Lorraine Mathers, that being the real-world figure of Jack Parsons. And Parsons was a very interesting figure, to put it lightly. Parsons was born on October 2nd, 1914, and was known primarily for two things: being a rocket engineer, and more importantly for the sake of the story, an occultist. He has quite the resume. In 1939, Parsons would join the Thelema religion, which was the religion started by Aleister Crowley. Now, Crowley is an interesting figure in his own right, and I am in no way, shape, or form an expert on him, Parsons, or the Thelema religion, so this is what Wikipedia has to say describing this religion. The core of Thelemic thought is, do what thou wilt. However, beyond this, there exists a wide range of interpretation of Thelema. Modern Thelema is a syncretic philosophy and religion, and many Thelemites tried to avoid strongly dogmatic thinking. Crowley emphasized that each individual should follow their own inherent true will rather than blindly following his teachings, saying he did not wish to found a flock of sheep. Thus, contemporary Thelemites may practice more than one religion, including Wicca, Gnosticism, Satanism, and Luciferianism. Many adherents of Thelema recognize correlations between Thelemic and other systems of spiritual thought. Most borrow freely from methods and practices of other traditions, including alchemy, astrology, Kabbalah, Tantra, tarot divination, and yoga. I probably mispronounce a lot of those words. My bad. So that in and of itself is a lot to unpack, and we won't be doing a deep dive into that. We just simply don't have the time here with how long this video is already. Important for the story is that they believed in magic, alchemy, sort of dark art stuff, and the supernatural. So Parsons would go on to join this and would become pretty involved and would practice some of their rituals and religious practices. And through one of these alleged rituals or practices, he would say that the Antichrist had come to embody his soul, and he would even write a book called The Book of the Antichrist. Now, don't forget he was a rocket engineer, but that career would come to an end after, during the McCarthyism era and the Red Scare, he would be accused of espionage, and because of that was sort of blacklisted. But he would still find work. On June 17th, 1952, Parsons would actually be working on explosives for a movie. He would be doing so in his home laboratory, which I believe was located in the basement. However, something would go wrong while he was doing so, and one of the explosives would go off, which would damage the property severely and would wound Parsons in the process. And Parsons would pass away a short time later as a result of his injuries. And while this death has officially been ruled as an accident, some believe that there could be more going on. That perhaps either Parsons took his own life, or that this was actually an act of murder. So that's Jack Parsons. I'm not really here to comment on the real life figure of him or anything, just needed to give that little bit of history so that way we could dive into what I think is going on in Dionaea House. And I think that the story was really going to take aspects of his death being a house explosion and his occult ties into it and really make that the cause of what's going on. It doesn't say when the Dionaea house was first built, but we do know that it was built by a follower of Parsons named Jared Lewis. It is likely that this house was built shortly after Parsons' death, especially since he's described as a land-based Noah, likely building this house rapidly. So I think there's two things that could be going on here, both tying into Parsons' death in the world of Dionaea House. One is that it was supposed to be some sort of ritual, that Parsons was trying to ascend, reach some other state of being, which would go on to him potentially even possessing the house. Maybe once he was dead, Lewis was able to construct these and through something was able to put Parsons' soul in the house. Or maybe it wasn't intentional and Lewis was trying to save this person that he worshipped by similarly putting his soul in the house somehow. Or maybe even if it was supposed to be a ritual, the ritual went wrong. It was supposed to be some sort of portal through time and space, but it ended up taking Parsons' life. But that could be the reason that when Lewis would build the house, it would end up popping up in all these different spaces, sort of an example of a botched ritual. It does appear through time and space as planned, but it's possessed, likely by Parsons or followers or by some entity that they summoned in, and now it needs to feed to consume people, and anyone who knows about it is in danger. Look, I'm not completely married to any of these theories, but I am almost confident that Parsons' death being a house explosion with his ties to the occult and whatnot were almost certainly going to feed into the story about basically Monster House. But I feel like whatever one you want to apply here would be a good first point in the timeline. Parsons' death leads Lewis to build the houses, either to complete the ritual as a way to save Parsons' soul or to create their extra-dimensional house. Regardless, that date in 1952 is the very first point on our timeline. And the next point doesn't happen till 1999. A group of friends consisting of Eric, Mark, Andrew, Travis, and some others get together every Saturday night in Houston to play board games. They're called the Saturday Night Gang. In the same year, John and Lucy Madson would move into that town's equivalent of the Dionaea house. And strange things would start happening, which Lucy would share with her friend Diane. The pipes would start leaking, They'd have car troubles, there were strange noises, and something in the house was causing a leak that smelled like bile. And they would live there for only 4 months before eventually fleeing, going on to live in an RV for the next 4 years, and the house would eventually be turned over to Drew's stepdad, Kurt. And Drew would be forced to watch this place for 10 days, during which time the house would haul him out and effectively turn him into a puppet of the house. He begins repeating phrases, TV shows, commercials, jingles, anything that he hears repeatedly, much to the annoyance of everyone at game night. And he quits going to game night altogether, and the group would sort of end up going their separate ways. Eric would even move to California. But Drew, under the influence of the house, would begin going state to state, living in different versions of the house and working at Blockbusters as a way to track where the Madsons could be. They got away from the house, and the house, through self-preservation, couldn't allow this. Now, in 2001, Lorraine Mathers would move into a version of the house in Idaho, but after the house would try to consume her, she would flee. She would come back 2 days later and find that there were puppets of the house living in it, and when she tried to sneak back in, she would eventually run away again after the door opened, when seemingly no one opened it. A few months later, one of the puppets would find her in Utah, and she would kill them in what is seemingly self-defense. However, she was arrested for this and tried, which would land her 9 months in a mental institution. Afterwards, she would go on to live a nomadic lifestyle, never settling down and always being on the move. In 2004, the Madsons' van would break down, which would cause them to temporarily stay with their cousins in Idaho. They would act strange during their stay, leaving the lights on at all time and barricading things like the closet door. But during their stay, Drew would find them at a diner and would kill the both of them before taking his own life as well. The house would send a clip of this article to Mark, who would then begin investigating it and would rope Eric in as well. And through their research, the two would find that something strange was certainly going on, and realize that it had to do with that house, that something there had hollowed Drew out and made him the way that he was. And as they unweave the web, they would find out that anyone who knows about this house is likely in danger. He would actually be able to get in touch with Lorraine, but we don't know what their conversation looked like, unfortunately. He would find the version of the house that Drew had stayed at, and would also find out that Drew's mom and stepdad had gone missing as well, presumably victims of the house. He would also make the discovery that the people that were living there prior were the Madsons, something that was seemingly unnoticed by police and investigators at the time. So he would fly out to Boise, where they were staying at the end of their life, and he would find an address to the place that Drew was staying. But when he got there, he noticed, impossibly, it was the exact same house as the one in Houston. He would go inside, texting Eric all the while that he did, but the house would eventually consume him. It would go on to spit his bones out on the street somewhere, and the house would email this article to Eric as a way to lure him in. And though he was initially apprehensive to follow through on investigating this, he would realize that, for Mark, he needs to. He would form a friendship with Mark's wife, Jen, trying to help her through all this, with the two of them sort of working together to investigate this. But Eric's wife, Colleen, would not appreciate this and would actually begin to assume that the two were having an affair. Someone named Mr. Paranoia would email Eric about another journal entry that he had found online that could relate to the Dionaea house. This one being in Arizona, the third house that they know of to date. This would follow a teenage girl named Danielle as she babysit a girl named Lenny. It seems as though Lenny's parents, or at least people pretending to be Lenny's parents, were researchers, trying to get to the bottom of what was going on at the house as seen through their elaborate tech setup in the living room that seemed to react whenever the house would do something, such as change temperatures or when the attic would open. And though she was able to avoid an initial attempt of the house to lure in, she would fall victim to it too, and would then become a puppet to taunt Jenny to try and get her to come to the house. Eric would continue researching the house, during which he would notice a man in a sweatsuit was watching him. One night he would follow him, and would find where he went was the Dionaea house, another one in California. Eric would get together with a friend and go to the house against Jen's wishes, and judging by the fact that he set up an automated message to write if he didn't return, we know that the house consumed him as well. Around a year later, Colleen would try and pick up where her husband left off, where she would find that Lorraine Mathers had actually started writing a blog as well. See, the house had removed any record of what she had done, There was no criminal record for her, no court trial, nothing. It was as though her killing the puppet and spending the 9 months in the mental institution never happened. So she would start writing this blog, and Colleen would be made aware of it. And though the two did not seem to get along, that's really where the story ends. And we can assume because of this, Colleen, Jen, Lorraine, all of them were likely taken by the house. After all, Lorraine even says that it's only a matter of time before she's dragged into a house that smells like baked goods and warm blood. And that, as unfortunate and abrupt as it is what I believe happened. Until some miracle happens that lets us get more Dionaea house, that's kind of all we're left to infer with, seeing as it's been 20 years that the house eventually won. It got all the victims that it was hunting down, all our protagonists. But until we know for certain, that's really the only thing we can theorize. But while I would love to see the story finished, I don't think that's a horrible ending. It's bleak, but really, what was the alternative? If they escape, they're going to be hunted by the house forever. As this is an extra dimensional thing, like, it's one house that's many in all the different states, or in even kind of alludes that there could be one in every single city. And it would be a horrible ending if they just went and blew one up and then that solved everything, or something along those lines. So honestly, although I am disappointed that the story, doesn't finish properly, I'm alright with this ending. I think that sometimes a bleak ending like the house winning, especially considering most our main characters are already gone, and, these would just be sort of new characters we have to care about, at least in the role of the protagonist, I'm alright with this. I would much prefer to see it finished, but given that that seems to be an impossibility, for me at least, this will do. But since there's a lot that isn't set in stone, let me know what you think in the comments. I would love to hear any theories you guys have about what could be going on here, as my theories are not only not confirmed, but are probably wrong. So I'd love to hear any other points of view. So with that, I want to thank you all very much for watching. I know this video was a little different. Like I said, I do intend to tell stories the usual way I tell them, but this was a fun change of pace, and I wanted to stay really faithful to this story and not really miss anything, especially just since I like the way it's told through emails and chat logs and diaries and whatnot. There are plenty of stories told that way, but this is, at least what I've seen, one of the earliest examples, and it's one that I enjoyed a lot, and I haven't covered a story like that on this channel, so I wanted to just actually try narrating this one. But yeah, that'll do it for today. Thanks everyone for watching, and I really hope you have a great day. Bye.